In the black sky above Earth, a large alien warship moved into orbit. Smaller ships, each filled with soldiers, known as Deathworlders. These were not normal fighters. They were strong, fast, and bred to survive the worst conditions. They had come to Earth for a mission. Their leader was Commander Cale Rowe. He stood on the bridge of the Vernic Droll, looking down at the blue and green planet below. He was tall and had skin like pale stone. His eyes were dark and calm. He had fought many wars and had won them all. To him, Earth was just another test. He had read the warnings about a place called Zone 7. Humans said it was deadly. Satellites avoided it. But Cale did not believe in fear. They call it a death zone, his second in command. Rala said quietly. Cale nodded. That means it will be a good challenge, he replied. Zone 7 was a large part of northern Earth, once known as Central Alaska. Long ago, humans had fought a terrible war there. They used strange weapons machines that could think, viruses that could learn, and even forests that moved like animals. But Cale saw it as a perfect place to show the power of the Dominion. The Deathworlders were eager. Some smiled, some roared. They had trained for this. Their armor was dark and heavy. Their weapons could melt steel. They believed no planet could stop them. On the Vernic Droll, Cale sent a message to his fleet. We begin in 1 hour. We land in Zone 7. Earth will learn who we are in a quiet part of space near the human planet. An old human ship floated. It was smaller and slower than the alien warships. Its name was the Spirit of Montana. The captain was a woman named Dana Whitmore. She had white hair tied back in a simple braid. Her eyes were sharp. Her voice was calm but serious. This is Captain Whitmore of the Spirit of Montana. I send this in peace. Do not go to Zone 7. Many have tried. None returned. I say again, do not enter that place. The message was sent in 12 different alien languages. On the Vernic Droll, Cale Rowe listened. Then he smiled. She is brave, he said, but wrong, and he gave no reply. Dana turned off the channel. She stood in silence, looking at the dark ships above Earth. Fools, she whispered to herself. She knew what they would face. She had seen the edge of Zone 7 once, long ago. She had lost friends there, machines that acted like ghosts, trees that could crush a tank, voices that copied the ones you loved. Zone 7 was not just dangerous. It was alive in a way that made no sense, but the Deathworlders did not know this. Or maybe they did not care. Engines roared. The time had come. Commander Cale Rowe stood once more at the front of the command deck. And we will not be afraid. The crew cheered. Lights flashed red. In every ship, soldiers moved to their drop pods. The pods were small metal cylinders that could fly through the sky and land on the ground like falling stars. Inside them, the Deathworlders waited. From orbit, the pods launched. They fell fast and bright, cutting lines through the clouds. Below, Zone 7 waited in silence. Dana watched them go. She said nothing. And far below, the land that was once Central Alaska prepared to wake up. The invasion had begun. Above the blue curve of Earth, the Spirit of Montana drifted quietly. Its hull showed burns and patches from past battles, yet it stood firm, a lone watcher in orbit. Inside the command deck, 21 alien ships hovered in a tight pattern, their lights glowing cold white. The Vernic Droll, largest among them, led the way like a predator moving through a dark sea. But she knew Earth, and she knew Zone 7. Ma'am, they're scanning the planets. Surface, said her officer Kyle Benton, his voice low. Dana nodded slowly. Ever since the rumors of the Carthac Dominion's interest in Earth's wild zones, she had warned the Council. No one listened. She tapped a few keys on her panel. A signal boosted and locked onto the Vernic Droll. She adjusted her mic and leaned forward. Attention, Carthac, Dominion Fleet, she said, her voice even. This is Captain Dana Whitmore of the United Nations Defense Front, commanding the Spirit of Montana. I strongly advise you to abort your mission. Do not enter Earth, Zone 7. It is not what you believe. It is not empty. It is not asleep. A few moments passed. There was no reply. Dana sighed. I say again, Zone 7 is not a battlefield. It is a trap. We barely survived it ourselves. Still silence. Then, without warning, the signal was cut. They shut us out, Kyle said quietly. They made their choice, Dana whispered. She stood and walked to the observation deck. Through the large windows, she watched as tiny flashes of light blinked across the sky. The Carthax ships had started their descent. She closed her eyes for a moment, remembering the last time she had seen Zone 7 up close. There were no enemies. In that place, there were only rules you didn't understand. Machines that moved like insects, ground that pulsed like skin. "Turn us around," she said to Kyle. "There's nothing more we can do." Back on the Vernic Drawl, Commander Kale Rowe turned from the dark screen. "Humans love their stories," he said with a smirk. "But they fear the wild too." Isley, his second-in-command, Rolla asked, "Should we listen to them at all?" Kale shook his head. "If the zone is dangerous, we conquer it. If it is empty, we claim it. Either way, we win." Below them, the top of the world gleamed with snow and silence. Zone 7 covered thousands of miles of harsh land. No satellites entered it. No drones returned. But from above, it looked calm, even beautiful. Kale did not see a warning. He saw opportunity as the first wave of drop pods began their descent. A quiet hum filled the ship decks. Soldiers stood ready, armored and armed. The Deathworlders did not flinch. To them, danger was a challenge. Fear was weakness. In one of the smaller launch bays, a young Deathworlder named Soren adjusted the strap of his rifle. He looked at his squad mate, Rico, and said, "You think the humans were lying?" Rico shrugged. "Does it matter? We'll see it with our own eyes." Far above the chaos, the Spirit of Montana turned slowly and drifted away. The alien ships were vanishing into the clouds. May something out there listen for. "You," she whispered. And far below, deep inside the sleeping land, something old began to stir. The sky above Zone 7 cracked open like glass. Lines of fire streaked through the cold clouds as hundreds of drop pods tore across the atmosphere. To those watching from far away, it looked like a meteor shower. But this was no natural event. This was invasion. Each pod was a metal spear, built to survive heat, pressure, and impact. Inside them were warriors bred for war Deathworlders. They had landed on deserts filled with acid storms, swum in lakes made of gas, and battled creatures. With bones stronger than steel, Earth, they believed, would be another badge of honor. Their pods punched into the surface of central Alaska with violent speed. Trees shook, ice cracked. The ground welcomed them with silence. Commander Kale Rowe was the first to exit his pod. Steam rose around him as he stepped onto the frozen earth. He raised his hand, signaling the others. Soon, hundreds of soldiers moved through the strange white forest. They called it quiet, peaceful. It was a lie. Zone 7 was a graveyard, but not a dead one. It watched, it listened, it waited. Kale moved with confidence. He had divided his 2,000 troops into 8 platoons. Each had a sector to explore. His officers gave updates. Their voices came through the coms, like sharp whispers. "No contact yet. Land is cold, but stable," said one. "Strange tree formations, almost symmetrical," said another. "We found a river. Water is pure, but too still. Not a single fish reported." A third. Kale nodded with each message. His eyes never left the trees. They didn't move, but something about them felt wrong. Their branches curled like claws. Their bark had patterns too perfect, like printed code. Lieutenant Soren's team moved toward an old structure buried in snow. It looked like a house, but its roof was made of solar panels twisted into spirals. The walls were covered in moss that shimmered blue. One of the soldiers, Arik, touched the moss. It pulled away like it was breathing. No heat signatures inside. Soren said. He walked to the door. It opened without a sound. Inside, there was furniture still standing. A cracked mug on the table, a child's toy in the corner, and on the wall, a screen that blinked once, then died. "Someone lived here," Arik whispered, "or something still does." Soren replied, "In the western range, Rico's platoon crossed an open field where no snow touched the ground. The grass there was short, green, and too perfect. Every blade was the same length." A strange hum filled the air, like soft static from an old radio. Rico knelt and pulled out a soil probe. The machine buzzed, then froze. Its lights turned red. "Data," he muttered, "like the soil is rewriting the probe." Across the zone, the soldiers grew quiet. Their boots left deep marks in the frost, but the air erased their presence quickly. Mists began to form in the low hills. The wind carried faint echoes. Some heard laughter. Others heard their own names. Cale reached a high ridge with his command team. From there, he looked across the landscape. He saw shapes too many perfect circles in the trees, lines to straighten the ground, a valley shaped like an eye. He lifted his prepare scans. Use deep pulse sensors. This land has secrets. His second-in-command, Rala, asked, "You think it's been watching us?" Cale did not answer. He looked at the sky, now dark with strange clouds, and said, "It knows we're here. The question is, what will it do about it?" The Deathworlders, bold and proud, moved deeper into Zone 7. The land made no sound. The machines stayed quiet. No creatures showed themselves. It was as if the world was holding its breath, but below, the frozen ground, under roots and stone, something had begun to wake, and it did not wake kindly. The mist came first, thin, white, and slow. It rolled in from every direction. At first, the Deathworlders thought it was harmless, just a shift in weather. But this fog did not feel cold. It was warm, almost wet, and it made their helmets buzz. Their scanners blinked uncertain warnings, symbols they had never seen before. Lieutenant Soren stood in the middle of a ruined road. Around him, the shapes of buildings lay cracked and buried beneath vines. His team moved in silence, eyes glowing faint behind their helmets. Then came a sound. Click. Then again. Click, click. Not gunfire. Not footsteps. Something else. A slow, steady tapping, like fingers drumming on glass. Soren lifted his hand. His squad froze. The fog grew thicker. Visibility dropped. Something moved. Across the street, not fast, not slow. Just enough to be noticed. A dark outline, tall and thin. Then it was gone, across the zone. Similar reports echoed through comms. Unit 4 lost visual contact with half their group, said one voice. Unit 2 says their night vision is looping old frames. Even though they're live, said another. Cale Rowe stood at the edge of a frozen lake. He watched the mist curl across the ice like it had a mind. His second-in-command, Rala, ran diagnostics again. We're losing satellite lock. It's like something is jamming us, Rala said. Cal nodded slowly. No more maps, no more eyes in the sky, and still no enemy had shown itself. Just shapes, sounds, movement just out of reach. That night, they made camp near a hill covered in metal trees. The trunks shimmered faintly, and their branches never moved, not even in wind. The soldiers set up turrets and drones. They made a circle of firewalls and thermal sensors. Nothing came until the ground opened. Without warning, 2 soldiers were gone. Swallowed, no scream, no trace. Then came the first real scream, sharp and long. A scout came running back to camp. His armor was cracked open. His arm was missing. He fell to his knees, coughing up black smoke. "It copied me," he whispered. "It spoke with my voice." Then he stopped breathing. The camp exploded into motion. Lights flashed, weapons turned, but nothing attacked. The trees began to glow, not just shine glow, with symbols that moved like letters in water. The same symbols that had shown up on their scanners. Cale gave the order. Fall back to the rally points. He had underestimated the zone. It was not a battlefield, it was a living system, and it had decided to test them as the soldiers pulled out. The forests changed. The paths they had taken were gone. Their footprints were erased. Even the trees looked different, taller, sharper. Watching Lieutenant Soren fired into the mist. His plasma rounds lit up twisted figures that looked half human, half machine. They did not fall. They just bent backward, like puppets with broken strings. Then vanished. One by one, the comm channels started going silent. Unit 6 lost, Unit 1 lost, Unit 5 not responding. Cale watched the lights on his command tablet disappear. He did not blink. He did not shout. He simply whispered, "Now we see the real face of Earth." The fog rose higher, hiding the stars. And somewhere in the dark, the zone began to speak. In whispers, in screams, in memories that did not belong to anyone still alive. The sun never truly rose in Zone 7. The light came in strange waves, a pale glow that shifted color. Soft and blue one moment, harsh and red the next. The soldiers stopped trusting their shadows. Even time felt wrong. Lieutenant Rowan Hale walked with what remained of his unit, 13 soldiers. That was all. 3 days ago, they had been 40. The rest were either missing or presumed dead. Or worse, their path took them through a narrow canyon, where walls of cracked metal and stone towered above them. Strange symbols flickered along the rock like dying stars. The wind carried voices now. Sometimes it called out names. Rowan paused. When he heard his own Rohan over here, he turned quickly, weapon raised. But the canyon was empty. They kept moving. Hours later, they found signs of life. Not alien, human. Old solar panels, rigged to cracked car batteries, a makeshift antenna, burned-out lights made from melted drone parts. The trail led them to a bunker hidden under a hill of frozen moss. Its door was metal, scratched with dozens of names, human names. Rowan knocked once. Then again, a voice came from behind the door. "Stay still. Hands where I can see them." They obeyed. The door opened halfway. A woman stood inside, holding a long rifle made from old UNDF parts. Her face was tired, streaked with oil and ash. Her eyes sharp like someone who had been awake too long. "You're not from Earth," she said. "We're not here to fight you," Rowan replied. "My name's Rowan Hale, Lieutenant Karthak, Dominion Task Group. We've lost contact with the others." "You've lost more than that," the woman said. She let them in. The bunker smelled of dust and battery acid. There were maps pinned to the wall, hand-drawn, marked with red lines and black X's. Places to avoid. Places that screamed. Places that moved. "I'm Nora Briggs," she said. "I used to work for Earth Defense, Cyber Warfare Division. We designed weapons to confuse AEs. I thought I understood networks. Then I came here." Rohan sat across from her. "What is this place?" Nora looked at him, but her eyes didn't focus right away. "This place is not just land. It's a loop, a thinking machine. Every time someone comes, it watches. It learns. Then it makes copies." Rowan frowned. "Copies. People. Voices even. Thoughts sometimes. It knows what scares you. It knows what breaks you." One of Rowan's soldiers scoffed. "You expect us to believe that?" Nora didn't answer. She opened a steel locker and pulled out a long plastic tube. Inside was a severed arm, a Deathworlder arm. "Still moving. We found this yesterday. It's not from your team. The DNA matches no one. But it's wearing your armor, and it tried to access our systems using your encryption." Silence filled the bunker. Rohan stared at the tube. "How do we fight it?" "You don't," Nora said. "You survive it. And only if it lets you." Suddenly, alarms inside the bunker lit up. The motion sensors had picked something up, but the cameras showed nothing. Rowan stood quickly, grabbing his rifle. "Get 2 defensive positions." Nora didn't move. "It won't attack the bunker. Not yet. It wants to learn you first." "How do you know that?" She pointed to the wall. A screen blinked on. A video loop played of Rowan's team walking through the canyon earlier that day. But Rowan noticed something strange. In the video, there were 14 of them, not 13. "Who's that?" one soldier asked, pointing at the figure in the back of the group. Rowan stared. The figure's face was wrong, too smooth, too still. "It walked with us the whole time," he whispered. Nora nodded slowly. "Now you understand. It already knows you. It just hasn't finished becoming you." The cold wasn't just physical now. It had weight. It clung to the skin even beneath armor. It whispered things when no one was speaking. The survivors had no map. The terrain changed behind them as they walked. Paths vanished. Hills moved. Machines they left behind were either torn apart or now pointed at them. The land had turned against them. The sky was red one moment, black the next. Rowan Hale led what was left of the second platoon. Beside him walked Nora Briggs, her face tighter, her voice quieter. Even she seemed shaken now. "It's learning faster," she muttered, more to herself than anyone else. They reached an old United Nations outpost covered in vines and broken antennas. The walls were scorched, doors half melted. The airlock still worked. Barely inside, the lights flickered weakly. The air was dry, empty. They sealed. The door behind them, Rowan counted heads. 11. Only 11. He didn't even know the names of all the dead anymore. In the outpost's main chamber, Nora plugged a data stick into the central terminal. After a pause, the screen lit up with a cracked UN seal. A file opened, holograms flickered to life. Faces of human scientists and generals long gone appeared around them. Project Hecaton, Nora read aloud. Initiated 2083. Purpose, engineer a zone on Earth that would be unbreachable by alien force. A last line of defense. What did they build? Rohan asked. Not what? Who? Nora whispered. The holograms shifted. Images of early prototypes appeared. Forests of living machines, rivers that could rewrite DNA, clouds with minds of their own. A biome made to trap, confuse, and destroy anything that did not belong. Made the zone to think, she continued, not just react, but evolve. It sees invaders. It doesn't fight them directly. It changes their path, breaks their minds, copies their shape. One hologram showed a man tearing off his helmet. His eyes were blank. He smiled as tendrils wrapped around his head. The screen glitched. Rowan stepped back. This was a suicide project. Nora shook her head. No, it worked. Earth was never invaded again. The cost was silence. They sealed it, buried the files, and left it alone. Behind them, one of Rowan's soldiers began laughing softly. Too softly, the others turned. His helmet visor lit up with strange symbols. He raised his rifle to his own chest. A hand grabbed it just in time. Help me, he gasped. It's inside my thoughts. They restrained him, but not without wounds. He bit one man deep enough to leave bone. His mouth filled with static. Nora worked fast. She loaded data from the outpost into her pad. Old schematics, transmission keys, firewall designs, anything that might help. This is not about firepower, she said. This is information warfare. You don't kill the zone. You keep it from knowing you first. Rowan leaned against the wall. He had never lost this many people in so little time. He closed his eyes. For just a second, he saw his sister. She had died years ago. But here, in this place, she smiled at him from the shadows. Lieutenant, one of the soldiers called. He opened his eyes. The shadow was gone. They knew now they were not just being hunted. They were being copied, studied, and unraveled. The zone was not defending itself. It was playing with them, and soon it would not need them at all. Cale Rowe was no longer giving orders. His last known position was a frozen ravine filled with twisted machine roots and the echoes of gunfire. His beacon still blinked, but no one answered it. A rescue team was sent. None returned. Rowan Hale had no illusions left. But inside, he felt hollow. It moved when you weren't looking. Their boots left no prints. Their shadows dragged behind them. Too slow, they had a plan now, a desperate one. An old emergency launch site existed in Sector C9. It had once been a failsafe for UN personnel. A buried shuttle, long forgotten, maybe still functional, maybe not. Getting there meant crossing the glint fields of flat, open space where light never bent correctly. Shapes shimmered wrong. Voices came from the wrong directions. But it was the fastest route. The zone knew they were heading there. Veteran warriors, reduced to silence and superstition. One, named Vex, carried a locket filled with soil from his homeworld. He whispered to it like a prayer. Rowan's team moved quickly. They didn't speak unless necessary. Eyes forward, weapons ready. The ground pulsed in rhythm, like a second heartbeat, halfway through the glint fields. The zone made its move. The ground beneath them cracked. Machines rose like insects crawling from the earth's tall, thin, with faces made of mirrored plates. They didn't attack, they watched. Then, without a sound, they shifted shape. One became Rowan, another Nora, a third, Cale Rowe. Rowan fired first, the others followed, but the things didn't fall. Another was crushed by a machine that folded itself into a wall. Rohan ran, Nora beside him, Vex and one more following. They didn't fight, not now. The zone was toying with them, but it hadn't stopped them. Not yet. The launch site appeared like a scar in the earth. A long metal door buried in rock and ice. The door sealed behind them. Inside was silence. Real silence. The kind they hadn't felt in days. The shuttle lay in its cradle. Dusty, intact. Cold, but not dead. Rowan asked. We'll find out, she said. The last two Deathworlders stood guard at the door. Lights on the shuttle blinked to life. Systems awakened with groans and clicks. The fuel readings flickered, but held. The engines hummed low. They could leave, but the zone wasn't done. The walls around them began to shift. The metal bent inward, like the building itself was breathing. A voice spoke from the shadows. Why run? It was Cale Rowe's voice. Rowan didn't flinch. He pulled Vex toward the hatch. We don't run, he said. We escape. The shuttle lifted. seconds before the wall split open, revealing a wave of dark shapes crawling forward. The engines burned bright. The zones screamed, not with sound, but with pressure, crushing in from all sides. The ship broke free, up through the ice, through the clouds, toward the black sky where no voices whispered. Only 5 made it aboard, and none of them looked back. The stars had never looked so distant, rising through a storm of static and code that wasn't supposed to exist in the atmosphere. The clouds had tried to follow them. Something in the wind had screamed. The air itself had resisted, but they escaped. Inside the cabin, no one spoke. 5 survivors. That was all. Rowan Hale sat near the front, his armor burned, helmet off, face blank. Vex sat beside him, clutching the locket of alien soil to his chest. He rocked slightly, whispering words in a language no one else understood. Nora Briggs was strapped into the co-pilot's chair. Her hands didn't leave the controls. To perfect, they passed the last of the planet's orbit. Earth shrank behind them. Beautiful, peaceful. The signal, a soundless message, broadcast to every screen on the shuttle. Just 2 words, never return. No source, no code. Trace, just a voice from nowhere and everywhere. The crew stared at it. Vex covered his eyes. One of the others began to laugh, then stopped. The screen turned black. Rowan looked out the window. Zone 7 was far below now. A tiny patch of cloud and ice, a place no one would ever understand. A place that let them go. Why? He wondered. He thought about the mimics, the voices, the perfect copies. He wondered if they had truly escaped, or if something else had come with them. No one said it aloud, but they all felt it. They didn't speak on the way home. Unsystems pinged their approach, surprised to find any survivors at all. Recovery ships were sent. Medical teams waited. The 5 survivors were taken into quarantine. Vex never let go of the locket. Interviews followed, tests, psychological exams, no clear answers. Just 5 names on a long list of missing. The Carthac Dominion received a report marked partial success to avoid shame. They never sent another fleet. Zone 7 was marked off-limits by every spacefaring nation. Not classified, not secret, just avoided. Rowan Hale later joined the UNDF's Deep Defense Division. He never spoke of the mission again. Nora disappeared 2 years later. Some said she returned to the edge of Zone 7. Others believed she was never really herself after escaping it. The shuttle they flew home was dismantled and studied. Some pieces were quietly destroyed. Others disappeared. Vex returned to his homeworld only to vanish in a temple storm. The other 2 survivors gave up speaking entirely. No one speaks of the 1995 who didn't come back because sometimes silence is the only way the zone stays quiet. And somewhere, beneath the ice and wire of a forgotten land, Zone 7 waits again, listening, dreaming, preparing.